A step forward for Calgary's water system. Restrictions will end soon. Seniors and food insecurity.
I think we all struggle to figure out what the path forward is for resolution for those folks.
The uphill climb for food and shelter. And huddling up in Calgary.
We're here to create some lifelong fans and really grow the game and expand into Canada.
Why an NFL team held a camp for kids here.
CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Ian White.
Good afternoon. Testing is underway on the newly refilled Bears Paw feeder main, and water use restrictions could be lifted as soon as Thursday. The pipe has been refilled after repairs were done on 9 weak sections. If testing shows the water is safe, the pumps will be turned on tomorrow. The city says you could notice your water looks cloudy for the first 24 hours, but says it's safe to drink. The repaired pipe will be watched closely for any new breaks until the new pipe comes online at the end of the year. Water restrictions are expected to happen again in the fall. Calgary's blanket rezoning debate will likely carry into next week. Councillors have heard from hundreds of people so far. Most of them want to get rid of the land use bylaw. Jordan Canigan is at City Hall with more, and Jordan, a decision isn't expected until after Easter.
Ian, we're into week 2 of public hearings on whether to repeal blanket rezoning, and we've still yet to hear from hundreds of people who have signed up to speak on the issue. And because of a scheduling quirk, Council will put the blanket rezoning issue aside for 2 days, and then they'll have to come back to it on Thursday, meaning that a decision is not likely until some point next week. Now, so far, we've heard from about half of the roughly 520 speakers who signed up to have their say on this issue. Many who have talked so far are calling for an end to the bylaw that made it easier to put up townhomes and row homes. It was a move passed just under 2 years ago to boost housing supply, but it's been met with criticism and concern since. Monday saw representatives from the Calgary Real Estate Board make their case for why the rules should change.
Let's take a reset on this. Blanket rezoning doesn't really achieve some of the objectives that they're looking for. We haven't really seen a change in the amount of overall road development, especially redevelopment. It's been pretty similar to what we had before. It's not creating affordability in the same way.
Now, when debate does start again, Council will consider amendments that could restrict townhomes and row homes from being built mid-block. They would only be able to be built at the end of streets. They could also put limits of 6 units per parcel of land, down from the current limit of 8. But that will have to wait. The public hearing will continue today and then again on Thursday, before Council takes a break for the Easter long weekend. Yeah.
Thank you, Jordan. A new report finds many older Calgarians are worried rising costs will make it difficult for them to buy food. The Calgary Food Bank found 70% of those aged 55 and over expressed concerns about housing affordability within the next 12 months. The Calgary Food Bank's data was compiled from 30 interviews and 736 survey responses. The agency found rising costs combined with limited savings means 64% of older adults are experiencing food insecurity for the first time.
When you're looking at an older population that have left the workforce, that have fixed income, and they're no longer able to make ends meet, I think we all struggle to figure out what the path forward is for resolution for those folks.
The survey also found 80% of seniors who aren't retired can't afford to, and many of them don't have any savings. The province is changing how petitions and recalls will be handled in the future by disallowing them in the years before and after elections. The province says petitions and recalls are too disruptive to be held in the 2-year period around an election. The proposal would also allow for scrutineers to observe the signature verification process when recalls and petitions are held. The rule changes would not apply to any petitions currently underway. The province says the changes are to help restore confidence in democratic processes and would not interfere with Albertans' ability to have their voices heard.
And I certainly wouldn't foresee a scenario where, a question would be put aside or held over for 10 years. I think everything that we've done thus far has created an environment to make it easier rather than harder for Albertans to have important questions weighed on.
The province would also fine anyone who uses deep fakes targeting candidates that might mislead voters. Fines would range from $10,000 to $100,000 and would be enforced through Elections Alberta. It's not clear how that enforcement would affect foreign influencers. The province continues to push for more power over judicial appointments. It's now proposing a constitutional amendment to formalize the provincial government's role in selecting judges who serve their constituents. The UCP says it would bring Canada more in line with the U.S. and other countries. Constitutional amendments require approval from the House of Commons, the Senate, and at least 7 provinces, representing at least 50% of the population. Avi Lewis is the new federal NDP leader, and he isn't exactly in lockstep with Alberta's NDP agenda. Lewis campaigned on blocking any new pipelines and natural gas projects. He won the leadership with 56% of the vote and is pushing for a nationwide clean energy grid. Last Friday, the Alberta NDP unveiled its energy policy, calling for Trans Mountain expansion and increasing natural gas exports. Immediately following Lewis's victory, Naheed Nenshi stated Lewis is not in the interests of Alberta, but has since softened his tone.
I thought it was important for Albertans to remember that for many, many years now, the Alberta New Democrats, the federal New Democrats have not been fully aligned, particularly on energy policy. The Federal Party has a different point of view here, and the new leader certainly has a very different point of view on all of this. But at the end of the day, my job is to focus on Danielle Smith and the separatist UCP.
Premier Danielle Smith calls Lewis a radical eco-socialist and quickly linked the provincial and federal parties, pointing to the NDP constitution, where they must conform to federal policy. Nenshi says that's not true. A new report warns Canada is losing investment not to other countries, but to its own regulatory system. A study from the Business Council of Alberta says complex, slow, and unpredictable approval processes are driving capital out of the country. The report calls for major changes, including faster timelines, fewer duplicate reviews, and clearer decision-making for big projects. The council says they've seen frustrations with companies getting approval to begin a project before a politician blocks it and requests more studies at the 11th hour.
So we need to have a process that enables a company to submit one application, do all of their studies all at once, and every party in that decision framework evaluates things on that one body of work, and that we don't keep going back to companies asking for more and more and more.
The report says Canada has the resources to compete globally, but needs a regulatory system that can turn that potential into jobs and economic growth. Construction on and around Scotia Place is entering a new phase, and that will mean some road closures. On the south side of the new arena, 14th Avenue is now shut down between Stampede Trail and 5A Street Southeast. That will enable crews to build the infrastructure and sidewalks to provide pedestrian access to Scotia Place. The Calgary Municipal Land Corporation says if you're going to a game or event at Stampede Park, it's best to drive in from 25th Avenue or take the C train. Road access will be opened up for the Stampede in July. A staple in the Chinese community and a go-to spot for barbecue is closed. After more than 3 decades, Something More Barbecue served its last meal on Sunday. The restaurant opened in 1993 and has been a pillar in Chinatown. The 5 members of the Wong family say the long hours behind the counter created a strong bond.
Most memorable part is when the store is closed. It's late at night. And then it's just during those quiet moments when our whole family is just hammering away, working to fulfill an order for the next day.
Many longtime customers were shocked to learn Sunday was the last day. One person who came to Calgary from Hong Kong said the food always reminded her of home. Sounds like it was just a fabulous place.
Yummy.
Danielle joins us now. Hey, we're near the very, very end of March. Are we going to get some spring weather soon?
Yes, we are. I'll put it to you this way. March is typically the snowiest month. April is typically the second snowiest month. So we're not done with the wintry stuff just yet, but we're going to have breaks in between where you can wear the t-shirts maybe not quite just yet, but it'll be warm enough for many people to wear t-shirts in the coming days here. But then we'll be back to some wintry stuff once again. We're basically in this pattern where every 3 days we're getting a nice little winter burst. All right, so we still have flurries, as you can see, in parts of the city right now, but this is really tapering off. So another trace to 1 centimeter in some localized areas, but this is winding down now. -4 is the temperature at the airport. With the wind chill, it feels more like -8. Your 24-hour forecast brought to you by Fifth Avenue Volkswagen, family-owned, community-driven. Discover more at Fifth Avenue Volkswagen. And while it's still chilly to start tomorrow morning, with the wind chill, it'll feel more like -15 when off to work and school. It will get up to +3 by the afternoon. We're looking at a mix of sun and cloud for the day tomorrow, and in the afternoon, winds gusting up to 40 kilometers per hour. More details coming up, Ian.
Thanks, Danielle. The UCP wants to get tough on people who abuse animals. Next, proposed changes to the laws that protect our furry friends. And should Canada follow Australia's lead and ban social media for most teens? Many Canadians think it's a good idea. The province is updating its Animal Protection Act for the first time in 20 years. Changes include increasing maximum fines from $20,000 to $250,000. There could be potential jail time up to 12 months for serious offenses. The legislation will also allow peace officers to enforce animal enforcement orders from other provinces.
What we noticed right away with a lot of the conversations we had was that we weren't able at one point in time to enforce orders that were enacted in other provinces. But it was clear to us that if offenders were offending in other provinces, that those enforcement orders should be enforced here in the province of Alberta.
Definitions around animal distress and abandonment have also been expanded. The changes are expected to come in later this year. So, Danielle, you're talking about wind chill tomorrow morning when the kids go to school, but by the time they come home in the afternoon, it's quite a bit different.
It's very nice. So layers are important in March and April, for example, just for these reasons alone. And we also talked about every few days, for the entire month, every few days, a burst of winter. We're still in that weather pattern. So while we're going to get warmer over these next 2 days, by Thursday, it's another burst of winter once again. So we're going to talk about all of this. Right now in the city, we do have snowflakes in some parts of the city. This system is just winding down. It already has, but it's really just all that air getting pushed up the mountains, creating a little bit of enhanced snowfall and some isolated pockets of flurries out there right now. -9 is what it feels like with the wind chill in Calgary. It feels closer to -6 in Lethbridge and -7 in Medicine Hat right now. The winds have been relatively calm for today, closer to that 40 mark in Calgary and Medicine Hat, and low 30s for Lethbridge, not even 30 in Pincher Creek. 40 kilometer per hour gusts are on tap for all of us for tomorrow, especially by the afternoon hours, but out of a different direction. And that's a key thing, of course, because we've been predominantly out of the north for today, and tomorrow out of the south and southeast. So it'll bring in a warmer air mass that's sitting to the south of us. Here's a look at these isolated flurries. Again, the system is mainly done with. This is just some upsloping that's creating a little bit of this, which means this is dying out. We're losing the strength of this. Trace to 1 centimeter is possible in some localized areas of the city as we head through this next hour or two, and then we're done with it. So you can see this just fizzle out tonight. The skies will clear out tonight, and they'll be clear for early tomorrow morning, but then we will have some clouds move in for the afternoon hours. So this is a look at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll have some clouds move in the afternoon. So partly cloudy skies is what you can expect for tomorrow, and yes, much warmer conditions as well by the afternoon. Wednesday, a good chunk of sunshine as well expected, but it's late Wednesday that the clouds will make their way into Calgary. We'll have snow start to move down the foothills, and we're also going to we'll kick off as rain in the far south and then transition late Thursday night or late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. We're looking at snowfall. This will be another significant snowfall for many areas, Calgary included. So what we had this last round, what we had last night and this morning, is similar to what we're looking at for Thursday. So Thursday morning might be a little tricky. All right, 3 degrees is the high for tomorrow, gusts 40 kilometers per hour. By Wednesday, we're looking at mainly sunny skies, clouds increasing later in the day. Late Wednesday night, 1 to 3 centimeters of snow possible. So nice for much of the day, then switching over to winter Wednesday night. Thursday will be very wintry, -1, and then another 3 to 5 centimeters of snow possible. So certainly enough to shovel. For example, this last round, we got anywhere from 5 to 8 centimeters in the city. Then, though, we start a warm stretch. Friday, 7 degrees. By Saturday, we should be in the double digits. And as you can see, warm weather for much of the next week.
A new poll finds most Canadians support a ban on social media for anyone under the age of 16. Australia has already brought in such a ban. The survey from Angus Reid found 3/4 favor the social media ban for children and younger teens. And 94% said they're worried about negative mental health impacts of social media. Last week, a U.S. court ruled that social media was addictive and ordered Meta and YouTube to pay a 20-year-old woman millions in damages. Angus Reid questioned 4,000 Canadians for the survey. Vacation can be costly as it is. Still to come, why it will cost you more just to cross the border. Guidance today from the U.S. Federal Reserve on inflation and interest rates. Joining me is Dave Popowich, Portfolio Manager with the Popowich-Karmali Advisory Group. Dave, where does the Federal Reserve see inflation going?
Well, good question. Right now, the current Federal Reserve Chairman sees it as being grounded. So he sees inflation being grounded. He says the right thing to do right now is to look through the near-term effects of the gyrations in the oil markets in particular. He says we feel interest rates are properly positioned where they are, and that had an effect on markets today. Ian, we did see the U.S. Treasury market, so this is U.S. government bond yields, actually coming down as a result of his commentary. So at least the bond markets still feel there is some truth in what he is saying, and it's pricing out what just last week was an expectation that we might see rate increases in the U.S. this year.
Meantime, the White House saying there's progress in ending the war in Iran.
Well, this is a tricky one. Depends on who you believe. We did definitely get a true social post from President Trump prior to market opening this morning, indicating that they're in serious discussions. In fact, he said they're dealing with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran. That's a quote. However, other commentary from him says, although we're making great progress, we're going to blow up and obliterate everything, basically, if they don't come to a deal with us soon. That sounds kind of escalatory to me. And then Pakistan saying that it doesn't appear that there's going to be face-to-face talks between Iranian and U.S. officials this week. And so we did see oil prices accelerate after that. And we did see stock markets, which started positive, and let's call it flat today.
Yes, thank you.
Bye, Ian.
Well, not only will a vacation outside Canada be more expensive due to the high cost of jet fuel, now getting a passport will cost you more. Starting tomorrow, the price of a 10-year passport is going up $3.50 to $163.50. The price of a 5-year passport is rising by $2.50 to $122.50. It's the first time the cost has gone up since 2013. The federal government is also promising passport applications will be processed within 30 days or there will be no charge. An historic road between Alberta and Montana will be closed this summer. The gravel road along the Sweetgrass Hills is shared between Canada and the U.S. Technically, the 14-kilometer road is on the Montana side, but Alberta maintains it. People on both sides have been using it for decades. Starting in July, Border Road will be closed to Canadian traffic as part of the U.S. crackdown on border security. Alberta is now planning to build a parallel road. A new report warns Canada is losing investment because of its regulatory system. Here's Tara Nelson with a look ahead to CTV News at 6.
Hi, Ian. The study is from the Business Council of Alberta. It's calling for major changes, including faster timelines, fewer duplicate reviews, and clearer decision-making for big projects. Coming up at 6, we'll have reaction from local energy companies. Also ahead, Calgary's water restrictions could be lifted by Thursday. Coming up, city officials explain what has to happen between now and then to make it work. Ian.
Thank you, Tara. It is warming up by tomorrow afternoon. We're at -4 right now with a light snow shower. On the plus side tomorrow, Danielle has the details coming up. I think there are lots of people who would love to get the car washed.
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to snow again.
Yeah, you kind of wonder, is it worth investing the money to do it when it's going to have all this splash up for tomorrow?
3 days later.
Then maybe by Wednesday it seems better, and then Thursday is the next system. I don't know. Maybe a quick hose down. Okay, -4 is the current temperature. Our high was -3, nowhere near the record of 25.4 for this day. 3 degrees, though, tomorrow afternoon, quiet. And then by Wednesday night in through Thursday, the next system arrives, bringing 1 to 3 centimeters of snow Wednesday night, another 3 to 5 for Thursday.
Thanks, Danielle. The NFL's popularity was on full display Saturday in the city. Hundreds of kids showed up to the Arizona Cardinals' inaugural Flag Football League kickoff. 500 kids as young as 3 years old all the way to 15 participated. Players took part in passing and catching drills while learning other fundamentals of flag football. NFL teams select the countries to grow their brand as part of the global marketing program and hope these kids come away with a passion for the game.
We're here to create some lifelong fans and really grow the game and expand into Canada. A year ago, basically through the NFL's Global Markets Program, we were permitted to come up to Canada, and we specifically wanted to focus on Alberta. We jumped into Calgary.
I just love seeing all the kids come out here and be able to play a sport that they really love or don't know they love it yet. You know, this is kind of a great introduction to the game itself, and I'm super excited to be a part of it.
The players will compete in 6 regular season games, plus the playoffs. About 125 girls took part in the Shooting Stars basketball event this weekend. Since it was founded, some program participants have gone on to play in the WNBA and have won major awards at NAACP schools. The event also gives girls a chance to develop their skills while playing in front of college and university coaches and challenge themselves by stepping out of their comfort zone. Shooting Stars began in 1991. It's the longest running program of its kind in Alberta. Thanks for joining us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.